From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
And we have returned. So, confession, guys, based on how things are going in general in the world these days, I don't know if I can get past customs in China. Maybe that'll change in the future, but it would be kind of dodgy because there are a lot of issues that are rightly or wrongly portrayed as being very sensitive to the government here in the West, at least the way they're being reported. So what I might be able to do instead, if I somehow can't get in legally, is to travel there vicariously. All I need you all to do, you, Matt, you, Noel, Doc, everybody listening to the show, is put on a very special pair of Ray-Bans and travel through the country and go to the Spring Temple Buddha, or go to that Scottish estate in the United Kingdom, and I can see as though through your eyes. Facebook, a company that has proven time and time again, it treats the concept of trust as sort of a Rorschach ink blot. You know what I mean? The definition is you see what you want. They have released just very recently. They're releasing these Ray-Bans in partnership with Luxottica. By the way, that's a conspiracy too.
Oh yeah,
one sunglass company that owns pretty much one spectacle company to control them all and bind them. It's weird that we haven't done an episode on it, but honestly, sometimes we get in a bubble, conspiracy realist, and we assume that everybody knows stuff like that. But if you go to a Sunglass Hut, if you go to a CVS, if you go to, your Dwayne Reed or whatever's in your neck of the woods, you go anywhere, you buy sunglasses, you're indirectly buying them from this one company. And now, for the low price of about $299 US, $299, you can get these glasses. Do you guys remember Google Glass?
Yeah.
We had a coworker who had one, Jonathan Strickland.
I remember they were ugly and expensive. And I think Jonathan was in a pilot program where he got a pair to hold kind of. I don't think that he owned them, but it was he was part of an early adopter kind of, testing them out kind of thing. But they were way too wide. They just made your head look oddly proportioned. And it was a dead giveaway. And I just don't know who was asking for this technology.
Yeah, this is interesting because if you recall, those glasses did look odd because they had the top frame, the top metal frame of a typical pair of spectacles, but they didn't have lenses. Instead, they had one kind of rectangular sliver of glass in the top left or top right part of one of the lenses. And these things backfired a little bit for Google. And Google is a wildly experimental company. So they kind of bake in the idea that not everything will work out. Shout out Google Wave, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem with the glasses was that people tended to not like the idea of being filmed without their consent, and legally it's a sticky thing. But there was another, tech enthusiasts may recall, there was another thing that was like a little body camera you could put on your chest that would just take a picture randomly at different intervals. And I've encountered those as well, and they're fun, and in the case of Google Glass, maybe eventually they could have become a profoundly powerful device, but getting over that hurdle of expectations of privacy and, expectations of aesthetic, I would say, because you guys aren't the only ones complaining about how ugly they looked. The design wasn't popular. Just those two factors alone were enough to sink it. And so Facebook is going to try again. And just like the Terminator example I had used earlier some weeks ago, this these new glasses look closer to regular sunglasses. They look like Ray-Bans unless you know what you're looking for and you're up close. They're very much not Ray-Bans. They have audio capability, so you can listen to, a podcast or the radio, or, I guess if you did some rewiring, you could listen to the rest of the operatives on the assassination run with some Lake City Quiet Pills. And then they also have these 2 cameras. This, as soon as I read this, one of the things that surprised me was most of the reporting was handled the way you would report on any other kind of just like consumer electronic, right? Like, here's the PS5 and it has X amount of these things and Y amount of these things, and those kind of reporting approaches. I didn't see a lot about the privacy concerns. Are you guys weirded out by this? Like, what would you do if I showed up? We're hanging out off air, and I show up and I'm wearing these Ray-Bans and I'm like, hey guys, these are my Facebook glasses.
Yeah, it makes me think of, I've been rewatching the excellent seminal HBO television series, The Wire. Finally moved on from The Sopranos, guys. And within that, there's a lot of litigation that goes into putting a tap on somebody's phone. Even if there is known criminal activity, it takes a lot to convince a judge to write a writ. And even then, those warrants are only for 30 days. Then you have to show what you got and then get it again. So yeah, it's interesting how long it's taken for us to get technology good enough where you can just prosumer level stuff can do this and have it be convincing and have it be that's an issue, right? The fact that they're not awkward looking and that you can be pretty secretive in recording people. There's a film called Sound of Your Voice, or Sound of My Voice, by Britt Marling, that was about a journalist that infiltrates a cult. And the big aha thing in the movie is that they've got these glasses that film you and have audio. And it was even at the time, something that just didn't exist. So yeah, it certainly opens up a lot of questions as to how this was being used. And even if you do get someone doing something compromising, sure, maybe you didn't get it legally, but if you put it on the internet, does it really matter?
Right. You can't unring the bell. Matt?
I'm imagining your scenario, Ben, that you were just talking about, where if you showed up with the glasses, how would I feel? I'm imagining what would it be like if Facebook itself, just as an entity, showed up and said, hey, take these glasses. You're going to love them. Everything you look at, you're going to be able to take video of. Everything you say, everything that everybody says to you, you'll be able to hear it and record it. And then just having them explain to you that, yeah, we're going to monitor some of it just to make sure that we make the apps better and the hardware better. It's for improvement. That's really what it's for. And also to enhance your advertising experience.
Interesting point, though. These are not augmented reality. Not yet. They're not AR.
No, but they are connected, right?
For sure.
So if it's used in the same way that Facebook is used, in that Facebook can track everything you look up, what you talk about, what you're interested in, what you post about, what you like, what you dislike. If that exists already as their business model, now you're putting Facebook cameras on your head.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, I wonder what they're going to use that for.
Probably the same type of stuff they use those cars that they send around that you see grabbing up geographical data.
Exactly. Yeah, they'll be geotagged and speakers. Remember, any electronic device you have that possesses a speaker, you should assume it possesses some version of a microphone as well at this point. So you will be able to take phone calls on these things for anybody who somehow is not horrified by being on the phone. And the thing with this is that means it will be listening to sound. I'm sure it will have geotagging or geolocation. It will also be able to, I'm sure there will be language about turning off for photos and short videos or whatever, but I'm also likewise sure that language will be written such that it is safe to assume it's never really off when the rubber hits the road. So if there is for instance, if you are a witness to something like a car crash or a crime, then maybe that footage gets pulled, and maybe this is years down the road, but maybe there's a blanket request where it says, okay, we need every, uh, Facebook face out there in the area. We need the location and say, okay, we've got these people all have Facebook accounts. They were around this area at the time of the crash. And then of these people, X amount have these glasses and they were standing there. So let's just pull the footage. Like we are closer and closer to this kind of world, and it should scare people.
Sure.
And I don't know why it doesn't.
Well, it's interesting when you look at them. They do look good. They do look like a cool pair of Ray-Bans for the most part. They're a little smaller, weirdly, like around the eyes, kind of. And they you can see the camera. You can see the camera lenses on either side. Or I'm not sure if it's two of them or what, but there are these little dots on either side. And I wonder, a lot of ways that they get around the idea of like, oh, are you filming me? Is there's some kind of LED light? That's why that
Right.
red light on a camera exists in the first place. It was so people would know, hey, turn the camera off. Okay. And the light goes off, the camera's gone off. I'm reading the specs on the Ray-Ban website. It doesn't say anything about that. It doesn't say anything about a LED. It just says that they are Wi-Fi connectable, Bluetooth compatible. 500 photos can be stored on board, or 30 30 second videos, which isn't that much.
Yeah, but that's, early days.
100%. I'm
Baby
with
steps.
you. I'm with you.
Into authoritarian state surveillance. But yeah, you're right. That's a really good point. So the way it works in theory, if you can trust the company responsible, is that you do a little tap on the side of, here, we'll do props. Let's do props. Okay. So let's say these are Ray-Bans we're talking, and then we're moving kilos of maple syrup. And then so you just tap on the glasses, and then the thing that would prevent us from talking about criminal activity then is that we would see those little LED lights that Noel just described. But I also think analog solutions are best around an uncertain camera. It's best just to block it physically. I don't know. There's also the thing, like, if human beings were ready, this technology could be amazing. It could do really good stuff for everyone, especially if you evolve into an augmented reality aspect. You'll be able to learn so much more about the world around you in a way that could be incredibly beneficial. But based on the organization involved, not Luxottica, not Ray-Ban, but Facebook, because of their track record, it's easy to see why multiple people would be concerned on a privacy level. There's another story that just came out about Facebook, and I don't know if you guys had heard this one, but Facebook just got busted again, lying about how they handle content. It turns out, the Wall Street Journal just reported this. It turns out they have a secret list of about 5.8 million people who are elite, they're celebrities, or they're other what they call highly effective individuals. If you're on this secret list, then you get to bypass any rules about social communities, any of those things that say, like, don't post hate speech, don't post blah, blah, blah. They make exceptions. This program is referred to as X-Check or Cross-Verify. This you can read the full story in the journal, but it looks like it looks like Facebook is privately not doing the stuff that it says it publicly is doing. So I would be concerned with any company that maintains that kind of duplicity. I mean, am I being alarmist? Am I going to be like, I feel like I feel like we're too close now to a world wherein everybody has some kind of AR augmentation, right? If you're listening to this, you just had a kid, congratulations, first off. And secondly, the trends indicate that they will eventually grow up with something very much like AR. And, we've described a scary world where it's ad driven. right? How long before the camera looks back in your eye and tracks what you're watching, what you're looking at, right?
And then emails you very threateningly because the
then
system knows
emails
what
you
you've been doing.
If you defy me in 96 hours, says Mark Zuckerberg. It's true though, but the thing is, I love this idea of increasingly embedded technology objectively. And if I could just on a personal level, if I felt like I could trust whatever entity was creating this, I wouldn't be so freaked out about it. Like, what about you guys? If it were like Google and Facebook are the two biggest ones, but what if it were something like ProPublica, which is a great not-for-profit journalistic institution?
That's brilliant.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
ProPublica
Like,
or some other group like that.
Use these to like stick it to the man as opposed to the man trying to sell these to you to stick it to each other or to basically play yourselves. There's a really great article in the New York Times about this. The headline is fun in and of itself. It says, smart glasses made Google look dumb. Now Facebook is giving them a try. And the author, Mike Isaac, says, it all made me feel that I was being dragged into some inevitable future dreamed up by people much more techie than me, one in which the seams between the real world and the technology that supports it had all but vanished. For years, Silicon Valley has chased a vision similar to that of a William Gibson novel, where sensors and cameras are woven into the everyday lives and clothes of billions of people. Yet the tech companies that have pursued these ideas have often failed to achieve them, as people have shunned wearable computers, especially on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would be into it, Ben, if it was also a monitor to where, like, if I'm looking through the glasses, I can play back video I've just recorded and it would look the way it does.
Well, that's
when I look
Black
through my
Mirror.
glasses.
That is Black Mirror. That's that Black Mirror.
Like the old thing
episode.
about how much equipment you need to be able to take a photograph of, say, the night sky in a way that looks
Realistic.
as cool as it does. Yeah, when you look through it, look with your naked eye.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's cool. So that would be your sacrifice at the helm of. Like that would be your sacrifice, right? Your propitiation to the death of privacy. That would be your trade-off.
Well, I mean, I'm really imagining that as like for anyone who is aging, getting older and older. Like if you could somehow do that, go record, like sounds silly, but go record playing with someone's grandchild or great grandchild and just go really play with them and then be able to put those glasses on somebody who, say, just isn't able physically to go and play in that way anymore, but would love to. And they could actually hear it and see it. Like that is
sweet.
Black Mirror as well. But
yeah, that would be part of the Facebook commercial or the Ray-Ban commercial. But there are, just so I know I'm being very dystopian or pessimistic, but just so there are some good examples, let's consider this. This kind of technology, once it progresses, would be something where if the pilots in an airplane, assuming humans still fly planes themselves, if the pilots in an airplane are unconscious, worst case scenario, somebody has to land the plane, then they could put these glasses on and the folks at air traffic control could see exactly what they're doing and tell them how to land. Like
highlight the buttons.
And think about how incredibly easy tutorials would become. You know, now you're fixing a car, if people are still allowed to fix their own cars. You like how every one of these has a caveat? But and then you'll be able to actually see from a point of view that is directly relevant to what you're doing with the engine. I mean, I see those good things, and you could learn things easily. You could have instant translation when you're talking to people if they speak a different language. There's a lot of opportunity for really powerful good things. But again, and this is just my own prejudice, because of the origin point, I feel like there's a bit of a poison pill here. And so I'm worried about it, and love for another competitor to come out, or for Facebook to do something that can ensure the public its days of duplicity have truly concluded. And it's a new era of transparency or honesty. But I don't know if that would happen. I know we went a little long on this one, so we're going to wrap it up today. If we'd like to hear from you, we want to hear your ideas about these stories we have shared. And just because we left off on the Facebook thing, hey, it's easy to find us online. you can join our Facebook group.
I just want to add one tiny little thing, and you should join the Facebook group. Here's where it gets crazy. They are claiming, and which was probably verifiable, that all this stuff is encrypted, which would mean it's encrypted from Facebook. So it's not like they're just automatically having a feed from your eyeballs directly to their algorithm. Just devil's advocate, putting that out there.
Yeah, like the way they treated everybody with the same standards until it turned out they didn't.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, here's where it gets crazy. That's the Facebook page.